and welcome to this fine part 2 installment of the exploration of the PC Engine. Good friend, Uncle Bob, thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to educate you on one of the finest home consoles that did come out in America, but did not receive the level of love and support that it did in Japan. So we played on the first one some of the weird, wacky treasures.
Yes.
We did a Choaniki game, which I love. Toilet Kids, which you better believe I love. Yeah. And the incomparable Strip Fighter 2, which got the channel banned off YouTube. We're assuming. We're safely assuming. And that's if that happened, it's because my censor bars were not enough.
It's not enough.
But that, of course, is a Street Fighter 2 clone featuring boobs and lowbrow humor.
Uncensored.
No, just straight up boobs. Which
there were areolas.
Absolutely, there were. There was a mama nipple and a bunch of baby nipples around the mama nipple. But that is one of the other PC Engine differences. At the time that you and I were growing up playing the Saccharine Sweet curated, what's it called? Seal of Approved type video games from Nintendo and Sega. There was some not wholesome shit happening on the other side of the country. Or the other side of the world. And it is so fun to explore that. So we mentioned in the last go that the original Splatterhouse, which you know is something that I hold incredibly near and dear to my heart, that was on this system. That did come out in America on the TurboGrafx, but in a butchered format where they were afraid of being sued, so they had the purple mask, the whole deal. But in Japan, you had full Jason Voorhees hockey mask, Splatterhouse.
Yeah. Not worried about being sued over there.
At all. Which we're all better for that today because of that laissez-faire type of attitude towards that. So we're going to dive into some of the more spectacular games of this system, things that I think have been discovered by a lot of people way after the fact, myself certainly included on that. But to start things off, I want to show you an incredible port that is kind of a famous calling card of this system. It's a game that you've played a million times, but you never played it quite like this, and it deserves a little bit of explaining. So what I'll do is I'll load that up right here, and then I'm going to screw that up, which is exactly what I did.
All right. Good content.
It's always good content around here, Chief. It's made better when you announce that it's good content, too. That's how it works. So we're going to play Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition.
I think I've heard of it.
Here's what's special about this version of Street Fighter 2. Number one, it's Championship Edition, which that wouldn't happen in America until the Genesis version. Number two, you're about to play a kick-ass port of this game that's on an 8-bit system. Yes, there's extra trickery that makes the PC Engine and TurboGrafx look a little bit better than, say, your Famicom or NES, but not much. So what you're seeing here is really just kind of like mastery of 8-bit computing, essentially in a nutshell. So let's do versus battle. I'm going to do this. Let's get some music going, and I'll make the screen big for us. Here, you'll be player one there.
I had no idea that this game was on any 8-bit system anywhere at any time.
So it's been ported to, by fans, it's been ported to other 8-bit consoles. But this was ported this was the version to get. In Japan, it was huge. This game was also heavily imported by American TurboGrafx players. But you had to buy a special adapter for the pinout because the cartridges were different pinouts. Because, of course, they were. Just to make things difficult. Let's start on... No! What are you doing? That's cheating!
It's cheating.
How do we do this? There we go. And the other thing, too, is this, it plays so well.
This looks great.
Yep. And it's super playable. The sprites are a little bit smaller, but all the animation is there. The music, which we do have on, is a little quiet.
Oh, Brian, how do I kick?
So you have a 2-button controller. Just like the Genesis, you actually have to push the run button to switch. Or is it select?
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, it's bad. But I'm playing with a 6-button controller in 2-button mode for the fairness of it. Yeah, so people imported this game like crazy, and for a lot of years, a lot of people would say that this was the best playing port of Street Fighter II Championship Edition that wasn't in the arcade.
I mean, this feels fantastic.
Yeah. This is the only real Hue card that I have, and I will show you when we're done with this match, just so that you can see the fun. And there we go.
Oh boy.
I know. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm trying to hit you with a high Uken. I just cannot do it.
Well, luckily for you, all I do is play fighting games all the time. So
if I could kick, it would help.
Push select to switch your between punches and kicks. It's a dumb system, but it's what they had at the time. Unless you bought a 6-button controller.
Yeah, who's going to do that?
Everyone. That's why they sold them.
Yeah.
I'll pick another good friend of mine.
Oh, let's go.
Oh yeah, pick do another. So, I think you select it.
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's see if they have the babes in the background.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Hey babes.
Hey babe.
Oh man.
You ready for a real big man? Oh, I need to switch to the punches. There we go. Doing the 100-hand slap is really difficult on this controller, but I do have this to make it easy. So TurboGrafx PC Engine games,
What the hell, bro?
they come with turbo switches. They're included.
That did not feel fair.
I understand. But if you picked E-Honda and then used your turbo switch, we'd be on equal footing.
If I knew to do that?
Yeah, if I told you important information that you needed. Boom.
Oh.
Okay, I won't.
Oh no.
I won't turbo you.
Oh.
That's all natch.
Down to the wire.
Yeah. Oh. Oh, you
Yeah!
got me. You got me.
Oh, look at all my platoon mates.
There's Iceman, Goose, Mav. They're all there. The gang's all there. They're all gonna live long, healthy lives. Very little Agent Orange exposure.
Yeah, I cannot remember how to do sonic booms. I guess we'll go back to kicks.
Boom. This so personally, this game was a bit of a holy grail to me. Like, not that it's rare, it's not. They sold a shit ton of copies in Japan, so it's actually a fairly affordable game to buy today, which is not the same of a lot of other PC Engine things. It's really hard to collect for now. But I always admired this port when I found out that it existed, because like it was written so highly of in games,
Absolutely.
in like magazines like Game Fan and stuff. So when I finally got my hands on it, it was one of those examples of like, well, this fucking delivered.
I mean,
absolutely.
Every time I see a game that could have been released on an 8-bit system and wasn't, it's like, man, just imagine the possibilities.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, let's do this real quick. Boom. I'm gonna walk back here, and through the magic of wireless microphones, do this all on camera, friend. And the world gets to see my Zubaz. All right, so I'll show you this just because we're in that world. Might as well. Excuse me, Psyduck. I don't mean to interrupt your slamming of pop punk on that speaker hat. So packaged in just a simple jewel case, as you see here. This is a dual deal. And then the game itself, they come in an inner sleeve.
This is the best part.
Oh God, yeah. So this is in an inner sleeve, and what makes this special is you can't really. Here, let me see if I can show you in this camera here. So it's got like, there's more game. There's physically more game in this card than in other turbo chip games. Like there's like this big bump.
Yeah, it's like a ridge.
Yeah, and that doesn't exist in other PC Engine games. So it's like a physically larger thing, which, I'm not preaching out of school here. Fucking rules, obviously.
It looks cool on its own, and then having the extra there, feels very.
Yeah, it's what we in the business call a double bonus.
Very, very tech. Yeah, you carry this around in your wallet.
Oh yeah, for whenever you're ready to jam. I'll say too, this is my This is my favorite Street Fighter 2 artwork, key art. And if you look on that wall in front of you that's off camera, you'll see I have it framed.
Oh, yes.
I love this key art. It is really, really cool. In a world that has a lot of good key art. So there's that.
Wait, why do they do a 2 jewel case for just, were there 2 games?
There's like a move booklet. And then that of course is an Obi strip. That's how that was packaged there. Oh, look at that.
Looks good.
All right, let's go back to here for us, and then we'll slide this guy on there. And we're right back where we need to be. So let's load up some CD-ROM arcade games. So remember earlier, I can't remember if it was on part 1 or I think it was on part 1. The PC Engine had multiple different CD-ROM formats. The only difference really is that they required more RAM, which they happily sold to you in expansion cards.
Okay.
But there's the last format they released was called Arcade CD, and you needed an arcade CD card to run it. And there's a handful of games. They're mainly really good Neo Geo ports. So here's Fatal Fury Special, Fatal Fury 2. Honestly, at the time, probably outside of owning a Neo Geo, those are the best ways to play those games. Like just like that Street Fighter 2 port, they play really good. And you've got CD soundtrack, so it sounded just like the arcade. But then there's this game that I'm about to show you, which is kind of like the big dog. It's a game called Sapphire. It is a vertical shmup. It has such cool graphical effects. But a real copy of this game today, $2-ish, maybe $3,000 now.
Yeah.
And this game has been bootlegged to death and has been bootlegged since the early 2000s. So finding like a real deal official copy of this game is impossible. But they exist. You just have to, mortgage your home to try to get it. We'll watch a little bit of this cutscene. The arcade CD games, they had bigger sprites. They offered more colors, all that kind of cool shit. But it was all released at like the tail end of this system. So, for example, like this game came out, the PlayStation was already on the market in Japan. I think the Saturn was also already out. But this thing was still rocking and rolling. There were still plenty of fans, and they kept making plenty of games. So obviously it's telling a story that we can't understand because it's in Japanese.
Okay.
But clearly dinosaurs are involved.
Well, and space. Also.
Yeah, space, dinosaurs, and Mount Fuji.
Dinosaurs, yeah. So Horizon wasn't inspired
exactly
by this.
And then here's the Sapphire crew. They're all colors. So there's a bunch of, I'll just go ahead and skip ahead from here. There's a bunch of like pseudo 3D stuff that looks so convincing to me. So right there you see 1995 Hudson Soft. Hudson is now owned by Konami. That's why those Bomberman games all are done by Konami. Some of the best Bomberman games are on this PC Engine thing, which you and I will dabble on. So as a frame of reference, 95, Super Nintendo's still rocking and rolling real strong in America in 95.
Yeah.
But you would not see something like this on that system. Look at that scaling, and then you're going to see like some like really cool morphing effects that are all just like frame-to-frame drawings. But it's done so well that, look at that watch back there, did you see that? That like hologram thing? It's just weird-ass Max Headroom, like fucking cyberpunk shit.
That's a good call.
But yeah, this is a really, really well-made shooter. It's very intense, as you can see.
No doubt.
I'm a big fan. I love vertical shooters that aren't in vertical mode, if that makes any sense. So like Radiant Silvergun uses a wide screen, but it's a vertical playing game. Mars Matrix, this game. I love that style, and I get why people like vertical. Don't get me wrong, I love tate games as well, as they say. But there's something about scrolling vertically and having all this other real estate that you have to worry about. As you can see, I'm destroying this game now because I have played it a lot.
I know.
Oh!
Looks
The
like
kid
it's not
spoke
the
too
first
soon.
time,
Yeah, I played a lot of Sapphire. This is another game where I was like, it was a dream come true when I could actually play it on real hardware.
Yeah, this also looks fantastic. We've really come a long way from Stripper Wars or whatever.
Strip Fighter 2. Stripper Wars is a far different game. It's on mobile.
The microtransactions are crazy.
Yeah, they are. And sometimes they require penicillin. So you can hear a little bit about that soundtrack. It's in the background, but it's obviously sweet fucking shredding heavy metal guitar.
Guitar riff. Yeah.
I mean, that's what most Japanese games in the 90s that had CD soundtracks had fucking ripping ass guitar leads, like wall to wall. So you're not going to miss out on that experience here at the dais. Take that, you kid. He needs to get up here so I can attack. Bomb.
Bomb.
Bomb. That was the last bomb. Shit. Death brings life. Always remember in shooters, death brings life.
Do you get infinite continue?
No, I think this one has 5 credits and it never expands. So you just have to get really good. None of these shooters back in the day had unlimited credits. Maybe not none, I just can't think of any, but the vast majority had a locked number of credits, so you had to memorize them. Only way to do it. And even then, some of these games you could try your heart out to memorize them. You'll still lose.
Oh man, that's a cool looking ball.
Yeah, it's all like fake polygons.
Yeah.
But it's animated so well, and like everything about it, like the design is convincing. So it kind of looks like you're playing a polygonal game, but you're not. And again, that soundtrack, you're just not going to beat that soundtrack. So that's Sapphire. I'll do this. I'll bring us back to here, and then I'll do this one more time. So that game, as I said, a crazy expensive video game, but it's one of those rare examples of, like, if you were a wealthy asshole and you wanted to own that game and you could afford it, I don't think that's a waste of money. To me, it becomes a waste of money when you're buying like I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example of like the Flintstone games on NES. They're not the worst games in the world, but the only reason they're so expensive is because they're hard to get. That's it.
Or what the Spider-Man on.
Oh, perfect example. The 32X Spider-Man game is a world-class piece of shit, and yet you're gonna have to sell a small boat to be able to play that fucking thing. All right, let's continue this journey on playing really good games. This one, to most people, they know what I'm about to play. But I don't know if have you ever played Rondo of Blood? Do you know what that is?
No.
All right. Well, then you are, my friend, are in for a real treat. So let's do this, and we're right back to where we need to be, and I'll make sound appear right here. So when you see those 2 flags, you know you got a winner on your hand. Okay.
Do you? Unless you're Kojima.
Yeah. And unless you're like any time in the last 20 years. So Rondo of Blood was for many years like this white whale of a game for Castlevania fans. It never came out here until way late in the Super Nintendo lifespan, and it was a really bad port. It's called Dracula X, and it sucks.
Well, that I have heard of.
Okay, Dracula X stinks. It's a bad game, but it lifts art and backgrounds from this game, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't. It's not very fun. It's too hard. It's buggy. This game is the direct ancestor to Castlevania Symphony of the Night. It doesn't have near the amount of exploration that as the series would later have, but that stuff starts here. So like, and we can play. Let's start a new game. Name entry. Let's do player 2. And I'm gonna let you do this. So we'll go for Bob here.
Okay, Bob got me in there.
Yeah. So you're in. You're ready to rock. Now you have a file here. So whenever you come over to my house, you can play.
You can work on my playthrough.
You can play on your Rondo of Blood. So you play. I will explain and vamp.
All right, game start.
So, it's a game where if we spoke both German and Japanese, we would get the full impact of the story.
Okay. A lot of overlap between those two.
Yeah, from an Axis standpoint, yes, that's true. So for the hardcore importer dork people, like, this game is like one of the first games of that caliber. Like, people were importing this game to play on American systems, importing the system entirely to play this stuff. Like, it's that big of a deal for its time. Okay. And it is, as Castlevania games go, real tough to beat. Like, it's such a fucking good game. And so some of the exploration stuff that I was alluding to about Symphony of the Night starts here. There's actually like a character, like a playable character that you can discover and play the rest of the game with. And then you can totally bypass her, like not even find her, and then you wouldn't even know. So cool elements like that. You're going to see a lot of really cool, basically like 8 16-bit maxed out on the gas.
Okay, I'm into it. This looks cool already.
Yes.
I'm not doing anything yet. Should I be?
No, you are not. Once you will know right away when it's time to party. So the Grim Reaper is out here. Go ahead and sock him. Okay. Tell him you're not. Look, you might be my mom's boyfriend, but you're not my fucking dad.
Oh, I can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The role I was born to play.
Well versed in the arts. See, he's like fucking nah, dog.
Oh no.
So if you ever get around to playing Symphony of the Night, that game begins with this scene, like this exact thing in the game.
Oh, is that an audio log that
He said something in Japanese that was cool and badass. That's a direct translation.
All right.
And obviously, I have the sound down a little low so we can talk, but the soundtrack, it rips. It's such a good soundtrack.
I mean, this sure looks and feels like Castlevania. So.
Yeah. It's just... So if you like went and played Super Castlevania, and I'm talking about it at the time, contemporarily, and how mind-blowing that game was when you first saw it.
Yeah.
Like all the cool Mode 7 effects. If you played that game and then like a year or two later played this game, you would be like, oh, so Castlevania is the best video games you can get. Cool, got it. But it didn't happen that way. We got Super Castlevania, and then a couple years later we got Bloodlines on the Genesis, which rules. Bloodlines is a really good game, but it has nothing on this. Look at the fire in the windows, like how fucking, it looks real. Like for a shitty 35-year-old technology, or however old this thing is, it looks goddamn real. Yeah, skeletons always jam you up. So today you can buy this in a bundle with Symphony of the Night on every major platform, and it's always on sale. I think as we record right now, it's late in January. It's on sale on PlayStation for $5. So you get this game and Symphony of the Night, which like you want to talk about like a 1-2 punch of like really good video games. That would be that.
Man, this is really great. These atmospheric effects.
Yeah. And then you have this really cool, like independently animated golem thing. Like each body part is its own sprite, which is why he moves all cool and fluid. Boom.
Take that golem.
Stupid ass golem. So, as someone who isn't that into retro games, give me some impressions of what you're seeing here. And do you think it's worth the hype that it still gets?
Well, definitely, because if you're in... This came out in 1995?
No, this came out in like 93, I think.
Yeah, I mean, compared to what else there was at the time, this is fantastic. So if you're walking around and you see, like the background, video games back then weren't great at establishing mood and atmosphere for a game because there were such technical limitations. And this one actually, like, you really feel the atmosphere.
Oh yeah, they nail it, and it only it's more and more too. Every level in this game is such a unique little, like, parceled out world too. Like, you'll be on a ghost pirate ship later in the game. There's like a clock tower thing. There's like a water sewer bridge crap that you see in a lot of Castlevania games. So here's your first big boss fight here.
All right. What in the world?
Well, you have the best weapon for it. You got the axe there. Yeah, just spam away there, Chief.
Oh no!
Oh god! Oh
no!
That did so much damage.
Boy, that went rather fast. And I don't have my axe anymore, do I?
No.
Oh, Brian. It could be curtains for... Oh, there it is. I got it back.
Oh, you're back. You're on top. And you same amount, too, 20. So you can jump and do that move in the air, too, which might benefit you.
The Dracula castle in the background. Yeah, it's good.
Have you watched the Castlevania shows on Netflix?
No.
I have it on very good authority from trusted opinions that it's actually really good. Both series is. What's your favorite Castlevania game that you've played?
The original, probably.
Okay.
Or, I mean, Super Castlevania is hard to say no to that. It's the 16-bit. I just have such nostalgia for that.
Absolutely.
But one of those two, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, Symphony of the Night's number 1. I'd put this game at number 2, and then the original Castlevania is number 3. I think Super Castlevania is a really, really good game, but I also have some shitty memories of it, of me throwing major 8-year-old tantrums.
Did you what year did Symphony of the Night come out?
1997, I believe. 97 or 98.
All right, and they've continued to release Castlevania games since then, but have any reached that level of popularity?
Yeah, well, in that exploration style, like maybe not on that level of popularity, but they've all done really, really well. So like there's 3 on the GBA, and then 3 on the Nintendo DS.
Yeah!
You nailed it. That are all that style, and I think the fans typically love those 6 games, and probably order them in their own special way, as we all do. But there isn't really a stinker in that bunch. And then Castlevania got a case of the Konamis. And they tried to turn the series into like a God of War clone. And then, well before that, there was like the N64 games, which are just kind of like a weird mess. And then on PS2, there were some 3D action games that were very Devil May Cry-ish. None of that ever got to a good point or place. And Castlevania's kind of never really recovered since, I would say, the Order of Ecclesia is the last DS one, and that was like in 2005 or 6. So you're seeing wind. Our display's a little dark.
Yeah, I can't.
But there's like debris and shit in the deal there.
But again, weather effects are cool. You got lightning in the background.
Yeah, it's raining and stuff like that.
Yeah, the multiple layers.
Yeah, especially for like horror stuff, like Castlevania, Rondo, Super Castlevania for Super Nintendo, like even the NES stuff, they all did a really good job of capturing like a horror vibe. I just think that this one does it. It does it extra well. Okay, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go boom, and then I'll do boom, and then one of these here. We'll check out one more game here. One more game on the unit that I want to show off.
Is it stripper fighting?
We're just going to, again, in total silence, we're going to play Street Fighter 2. And if you could, on every 10th second, strict eye contact.
Right.
Heavy breathing and strict eye contact. Yeah. Let's do one of these. Okay. Here's a game that I love. It is going to show poorly on this. Okay. Because it is not a game that you can show.
Way to set expectations.
Absolutely. But this is a game I love, and I think it's a game that you would love. if you gave it the proper time and love. So let me do this for one more time, and here we are. And I'm gonna go ahead and scroll down here to one of the most wonderful / boring video games.
Jack Nicholson Golf?
No, you wish. This is JB Murder Club.
Okay.
So, JB Harold Murder Club is a long-running Japanese, basically super duper traditional adventure game. This was released in America, so this is all in English.
Yeah.
And you know what? Let's get some sound on there for us here, so we can hear that. I'm assuming is typewriting. Yes, absolutely it is. I love and have always loved this kind of stuff. I love hardcore ass adventure games. I love it when they're about solving murders. And that is all you do in this game. So you are going to be presented with.
Okay, I can do that.
Well, yeah, you like justice, right?
Yeah.
All right, hi JB. How's the investigation going, bro?
Do you need justice?
I'm your man.
For no nonsense legal
For no nonsense legal advice. All right, let's do. So this is probably a game of mine that's already happening, but that's fine. I can still show it off. So this is obviously like my little detective's office, and then this is how the game is presented. So you just get this map of a town. And I'm pretty far in the game, so you're gonna have less options. But see that red pulsating deal?
Yeah.
So that's just a place that you go to either talk to people. So this is the police station here. If anyone solves this case, you're the one. Okay, so I think I already have my perp here. I got to call in a suspect.
Oh, confession. Can you confess to the crime yourself?
That's a great question. Let's find that out. Let's go back out. I think I may have missed a thing. Oh, yeah, here we go. So let's go to E. Robbins' house.
All right.
So you're standing in front of the Edward Robbins' mansion. Let's obviously take a look around first because we want to case the joint. We want to make sure that there isn't any ne'er-do-wells that can jump out and get us. So you guess that 20 people could live in there. That's a big-ass house, Uncle Bob.
Indeed.
Now let's enter. No perps. Look at this bitch.
What do you want? Asked a middle-aged woman before opening the door. All right.
Okay. So then, like every other adventure game worth their fucking weight in gold, here's a million questions that you need to ask, and you need to ask every single one of them if you're going to be thorough about it.
Okay.
Don't just stand there smoking that stinking cigarette. Go out and find a murderer.
All right. Off to a good start.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Name, occupation.
She's Pamela Smith, and she's a royal bitch.
Age 40.
She's 55. She's the housekeeper here. Let's find out her blood type, because that's important. She's an O. Universal donor. So she works for the Robbins family. Look at this. We're learning about her hobbies. She tells
She's a
fortunes.
fortune teller. Oh, boy.
She's skeptical, but just a month ago, the cards told me that something terrible would happen to Bill. Oh, they were right. So Bill's the idiot that got murdered. So that's all. This is what this is. Okay. You go around, you get clues, you take the clues to prove people are lying or not lying, and you get really, really sunken in to a fucking gritty ass murder story in the form of a TurboGrafx 16 game.
All right. Is it only one murder or are there multiple murders?
So in this game, spoilers for this 40-year-old video game, starts with one murder and then there are other murders that happen.
It's funny you actually mentioned this. Your timing is kind of good because within the last couple months, I beat Return of the Obra Dinn.
Oh, I want to play that game. I'm well aware of it.
It is now one of my favorite indie games.
That art style, which is the old, I don't know if you spent much time playing old black and white Macintosh.
Oh, I had a Commodore 64, but okay. Yeah, I mean.
But that dithered black and white style or whatever the fuck. Anyway, this is JB Harold. We're going to go ahead and do that. And then we'll continue to talk about
Obra
Dinn. Let's do that and let's kill. Let's talk about Obra Dinn for a second, and then we'll button up this conversation here on the glorious PC Engine.
Okay.
So the art style in that stipple shaded, high contrast black and white shit. There was a game, and I can never remember the name, but it's an old adventure game that also took place on a ship, like a pirate ship, that I played on the Mac, like in elementary school. And it's one of those games like it's like tattooed into my brain, but I don't remember
Except
the
for
name.
the name.
And obviously, I would have like emulated it on a litany of machines that I own by now if I knew
remember,
it.
yeah.
But when I saw Obra Dinn being advertised, that game jumped to the forefront of my mind.
It is really one of the better indie games I've ever played ever, and I've been playing a series of games that are in that style where they're basically deduction games where you're like just like this game, you're trying to figure out who a murderer is.
Yep.
Obra Dinn does it a little bit differently in that you're kind of reliving scenes going backwards and then trying to use the clues that you see in the scenes to figure out how 60 plus people died on a ship.
Right.
The story is great. The sound, it's all very simplistic, right? Like obviously the art style is simplistic, but the sound, it's sort of orchestral, but like very, very simple orchestral. It just, the whole thing is like, it's simple and yet completely charming in how the aesthetic is. And I was really, really gripped with the whole thing. It gets my highest recommendation.
All right. Well, that you've moved the needle there. It's been on my list for a really, really long time, just solely based on the aesthetic and what its inspiration is.
You might need some guides for that one. That's another one.
You know, I'm certainly not above that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this PC Engine real quick before we wrap things up.
All right.
When I discovered, so I knew about TurboGrafx-16 when I was a kid. There was a time where at the local video game haunt that we know oh so well, that left this world too soon, Radical Video Games.
Too soon, 1998 or whatever.
Yeah, whatever, exactly. But they had a deal there where you could buy a TurboGrafx-16 in the box and pick any two games that they had in stock, and it was like $40 or $50. And I remember begging my mom.
Good deal.
Like, of course it was a fucking good deal.
Yeah, it's a good deal.
I remember begging my mom, like, we're leaving money on the table by not getting this.
Did she not know how good of a deal that was?
She was like, no. Like, it's shoes or this TurboGrafx. And then I just silently stared at her and was like, you know it's the TurboGrafx. You know that.
Have you told her after the fact how wrong
so many
she
times.
was?
She listens to the show. She knows.
Has she apologized profusely and properly?
In her own way. And by that I mean, nope.
In her own way. And her way is not.
It's to ignore it all the way. So
it's such a good deal.
I know. It's a really good deal. It's a really, really good deal.
Oh, boy.
So there was also a point in time where we were given a Tempest arcade machine that was given to us. All we had to do was just like take it from this location to my garage. And then my mom was like, wow, thanks. Yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, we're doing that, right? And then by the time I had left this premise, my mom's mind was made up. Which, in all fairness, is like, yeah, of course. Like, what is this 5'3" woman gonna do with a fucking 200-pound arcade machine by herself?
Yeah, well, or even getting it from one place to another, right?
So my solution was find 10 of me. I'll find you 10 of me, and we'll just walk it home. It's no big deal. Which she also vetoed. That's fine. Probably a good parenting call.
Moms are the worst.
Yeah, the scar tissue remains.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that thing was out and razzling and dazzling kids in Japan while we were bumblefucking around with Nintendo.
Dude, turns out. So the games that you showed me, the highfalutin games that you showed me on this episode are, objectively great.
Oh,
I mean, the gameplay in the shooter game, what was it called?
Sapphire. Yep.
That was really fantastic, and then even the last murder game, we didn't touch on it too much, but there was nothing like that available on the consoles that we were growing up with.
Absolutely,
nothing even close.
I mean, you could make the argument, and I will. Carmen Sandiego scratches that itch.
Yeah, well,
but it's not.
There is deduction.
Yeah, there's deduction, but there's not like, hey, we got to solve this fucking. Yeah. Someone's parent was murdered, and we've got to solve that problem.
But that's a good comp though, because Carmen Sandiego was a super popular game, and it was the only one of its type. Yeah. So certainly there's room for two games that have that kind of mechanic in it in the market.
So that game in particular, in that game, the JB Harold Murder Club series of games.
Get it right.
I will get it right because it deserves that. They were marketed to adults. They were like, here's some crime dramas for you guys to solve. Like that's why in Japan they do have a lot of like visual novel stuff still exists there because they've been marketing towards adults like that for as long as video games have existed.
Yeah, so it's not weird.
Right. Whereas here, It's certainly no longer weird, but it took a good.
It was a while.
Yeah, it took a little while to get there.
It didn't get there right away. That's true.
No, but yeah, that's another thing too. Is like this. The PC Engine was marketed towards everybody, whereas the NES was very clearly only marketed to kids.
Well, and even Strip Fighter, as easy as it is to make fun of, is look. The comp there is Tattoo Assassins. Okay, so everybody go watch our episode on Tattoo Assassins. When you play that game plays exactly how I thought that it would play, which is to say awful.
Yeah.
It looks exactly like
bad Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, like somebody took Mortal Kombat and they're like, you've got $15, go make some. And so that's what I expected. Now, I can't believe I'm talking this way about Strip Fighter.
Yeah.
But the gameplay's not that bad. The graphics aren't that bad.
Strip Fighter 2 has craft in it, and you can see it. Like
Wait,
you can see it.
Was there a Strip Fighter 1?
That's the best part. No. Absolutely not. It was beginning of time, Strip Fighter 2. Nothing in between.
That's really good. So that one ended up looking like pretty okay as well. Not so sure about the toilet pooping one, and not just because there's child nudity at the beginning of the game, animated though it is.
Again, cultural context. Look at any episode of Shin-Chan. It's all over the place.
Cultural context. But yeah, playing 1942 where you're dodging choclas and
shits,
bombing on poops. I'm not so sure about that one.
Well, that's fair. That is fair.
I would put that one at the bottom.
I think I would agree with that. But then I would slide it right back on top because the name is Toilet Kids, and that means something. To me, like the PC Engine, it's over time become one of my favorite systems ever because, and most of the stuff I was experimenting with as like a young adult. So like it was coming to me with that lens. So
I had no idea about any of these games, and you didn't even show me Bonk at any point. I mean, I've played before, but it's like this stuff is just good on its own, and it's not even the most reputable stuff on the system.
Right, which I think says a lot to the overall library of this thing. There's so many fucking games on all of the different formats too. So it's like a big giant library to sift through, and if you had better working knowledge of the Japanese language, like there's all this other stuff that is behind that wall as well, like tons of role-playing games and other adventure games. Really, really, really good stuff. So I recommend to anyone out there who has the know-how, this stuff is easy. It's a Google away, but experiment with the PC Engine library. If you want to do it above board, there's been so many compilations and shit like that released on all kinds of platforms over the years. So this stuff is out there. It's accessible.
Well, you said that Sapphire game is $2,000. Is that?
So Sapphire is not easily accessible.
That's not one of the accessible
That one is not one of the accessible ones. Okay. But Rondo Blood you can get on sale all day long.
Right.
On everything. There was a TurboGrafx PC Engine virtual console when that was a thing.
Street Fighter 2?
Street Fighter 2, you can't easily get that one. But again, that's just a Google away. All of this stuff is always just a Google away, kids. All right, that's going to do it here on this PC Engine-centric version of Midlife Krisis.
Throwback.
I will say like, subscribe, comment. We're on Spotify if that's your deal. Leave us a 5-star review. That does help. Tell your friends about this program. Tell your friends about Street Fighter 2. They'll thank you. Any last words?
Nope. Ready for a high five.
Yeah, but just a big-ass fucking American high five.
Oh,